Dating apps are having one hell of a year.
A new lawsuit is accusing dating apps of trying to get people addicted to them.
What about these apps make them addictive?
It's the gamification of relationships, the infinite scroll and swiping features, the use of rewards, the increasingly expensive subscription fees.
Bumble is not having a great public relations run and have hit the stop button on their new campaign, which went after the practice of celibacy. Now, the dating/networking app recently tried out the campaign with one ad reading, quote, "You know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer." The campaign has been met with backlash following by Bumble deciding to pull the ads altogether.
If you had told me when I first started making YouTube content that I would be right here 3 years later making a video defending a piece of technology that definitely led to me experiencing a lot of strife not that long ago, I would have told you that you were a liar and asked you to waste someone else's time with your nonsense. And alas, here we are. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. I'm a person who a couple years ago made a video called "Dating Apps Were Terrible for My Mental Health, So I Quit." At the time, it was one of my highest performing videos on this channel. And in that video, I talked about not so much my issues with the dating apps themselves, but just what my issues have been like with dating. At that time, I was summarizing the previous 3 or 4 years in my life and the dating experiences that I'd had. Some background on me, if you're new to my channel, if you've never seen anything before you clicked on this video, I am a certified signed, sealed, and delivered late bloomer. I did not start really trying to date until I was about 32. Throughout my entire 20s, I was just waiting for my person to appear organically. I don't know why I keep doing this. I was definitely just waiting for something to happen. And I did meet people, but I met them at work, or I would meet them at work or at work. And so if I wasn't, or at school. And so if I wasn't in those two places, I really had no other way of meeting people. So there would be long stretches, like years of time, when I would have no one new come into my life and I would just be pining over a random movie star, a crush from several years ago. If I was involved with somebody and he did me wrong or something happened, I would be wearing that shame and that pain for much longer than I needed to, because I just didn't meet anybody in the real world. Meeting people organically, naturally out in the real world was not something that happened for me. When I was a young woman, like in my early 20s, and I was trying to go out and just basically see like what I could pull and what my experiences would be like, I found myself ranked very low on the desirability scale. I didn't really know how to like do my makeup. I didn't really know how to really like what to wear. I never really had like a baddie era when I was younger. And unlike the youths of today, I didn't have access to makeup tutorials and hair tutorials and, whatever. And yeah, I just found that the ways that I was presenting myself when I went out, it wasn't good enough. And so meeting guys or meeting potential romantic partners in places where other people my age were meeting them, so like at a bar, at a club, at a day party, whatever, seemed out of my reach. I never, ever, ever in all of my 20s met a possible romantic partner in those spaces. For the record, I want to state that I know a bar, a club, a day party aren't the only places to meet someone. However, for young Black youth, a lot of times those are the places that we socialize in. I'm really proud of when I see young people, specifically young Black people, socializing in different spaces and in different ways. I didn't know where that was in my 20s. I was very lost. I didn't know where to connect with people that were like me. I think my job, or lack of, when I was in my 20s, I was bouncing around between minimum wage jobs. I had like 3 or 4 at all times until I was about 29 years old. And then I went into working as a teacher. I do feel like your professional life sometimes can lead you into other social groups. So I used to have a friend who was really into tech. And she would be like, "Oh, I'm in a group me for tech people from the North who now live in the South." I was like, oh, wow, you really have a network. So I think your network can really help you know where to socialize and find people like yourself. And let's talk about church, meeting at church, because I'm pretty sure somebody's going to say, well, what about, church? Did you ever think about that? Because, black suburban girl growing up, a black girl growing up in America, people going to talk to you about the church. Come to the church. That's where you find your man. I found it so competitive, so deeply competitive, especially in my 20s. So I really was SOL. I didn't know where to go or what to do until dating apps. Anyway, let's get back to the video. When I met people, it was through work or through school. Other than that, I did not meet people. As you can imagine, meeting people in those places was kind of, could be problematic. If something goes bad with somebody you're flirting with or you're talking to at work, then one of you might have to leave that job. I left. At school, if something goes bad with somebody that you that you are in school with, it can make things awkward. It can make doing your assignments awkward. It can make things really awkward. So, I was always interested in and looking for another opportunity, another place, another option for meeting a romantic partner. And then when I was about 28 years old, Tinder jumped on the scene. And I was afraid of Tinder because I did not have a lot of sexual experience at all. And everybody was like, Tinder is the hookup app. It's the sex app. Like, get out there and get on it and see what happens. And I was really scared of that. I would get really, really turned off by how forward they were. I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't know. It just felt like I had to perform being me in a different way. I had to be ready with answers about myself or a certain attitude or certain, and it felt very unnatural at first. So I walked away from it. I probably used Tinder for the first time, maybe right when it came out. And then I didn't use it again until I was in my 30s. When I was in my early 30s, I moved to Los Angeles, California. And it was there that I realized okay, if I want to meet somebody, I'm going to need more than just what I know and where I'm currently going. Cause I would hang out with coworkers and stuff. But when I would go out, it was like walking through a museum. You could look at people, but no one really wanted to touch me. I didn't really want to touch anybody. It was a very stagnant energy when I would be out in the city. So I said, you know what? Let me get back on the apps and see what's going on. And that began an explosion of chaos in my life, whether it was Tinder, whether it was OkCupid, whether it was Bumble. I definitely, for about 3 or 4 years, had a consistent stream of action and opportunity filtering through my life because of dating apps. And I have my complaints about them because of this experience. I know how nasty and shitty the algorithm can be. I know what it's like to know that you're not being shown to certain people because of the preferences of that specific area. I know what it's like to jump on an app that everybody else thinks is the greatest thing in the world, but you're having a hard time with it. Had a lot of opportunities to hook up and do whatever. And by the time I was in my 30s, I was like, yeah, just let it happen. So some of that was fun. Some of it led to some major heartbreaks. But for the most part, if I had not jumped on and started using dating apps, I would not have dated at all. It would have just been, I'd probably be sitting here in front of you with a longer gap between dates and individuals that I'm, currently and consistently seeing than I already have. Let me put that into different words. Right now, as I sit in front of you, as I record this video, it has been 5 years since I have been on a date. It hasn't been 5 years since I've met someone who stressed me out. It hasn't been 5 years since I've connected with somebody, since I've, hung out with someone, maybe made out with them, maybe more. But as far as meeting someone, connecting, deciding to meet somewhere, going there, sharing a drink, sharing dinner, sharing an activity, whatever, it has been 5 years. And it's been 5 years because for about 4 of those years, I was off the apps. So this right here, this little screen grab is from one of my very first dating story times. I no longer have it up on my channel. It's over my Patreon now, but I'm just going to give you a summary. I was telling a story in this video. This is from the fall of 2021. This is the only actual date I have been on since I got off dating apps and just tried to let it happen in person. I met a guy when I was out with friends. One of the reasons why I stopped going outside, and I'm going to talk about it more in a second, but we met, it was close to the end of the night, drinks had been had, boundaries had already been crossed basically before the date even happened. But the next day I woke up and I actually blocked him. I did not want to go on the date because I figured he's not going to take me seriously. It was just we were being silly at the end of the night, too much tequila, whatever, right? But a mutual friend had met one of his friends, and she texted me and she said, unblock him. Well, actually, she was a friend of a friend. We weren't even friends. She was like, unblock him. And I said, oh, okay, I'll do it. So I unblocked him and we made a plan for a date. He didn't want to go to the restaurant I picked out. I had to drive 45 minutes out to see him. I got there and he was wearing his pajamas and he smelled like Black and Milds. And we sat down at a table. He wanted to show me off. He wanted to show me all the cars and fancy things that he had, but he didn't want to tell me what he did for a living. And then we're sitting there and we finally seem like we're getting along a little bit and things are okay. And then he jumps up and he runs out of the restaurant. And so I just sat at the table by myself for like 10 minutes. I got up and I went to the bathroom. When I went to the bathroom and looked behind me, he was standing in front of the restaurant on the phone. And I was like, okay, he's going to come back in and tell me what's going on. And if we have to end the date, it's fine. So I went to the bathroom. I came back out to the table. He was gone. Never came back. I called the waitress over. I closed out the ticket. Shortly thereafter, he did text me and tell me he had to go to the hospital. His daughter broke her leg. He was racing to the hospital. That's all the text said. It didn't say, I'm so sorry, that I left you in there. It didn't say, hey, let me know what your part or my part was. I'll Venmo that, or let me know how much everything was and I'll send you money. I'm sorry. Maybe we can reschedule. He said nothing of the sort. He just kind of said, hey, I have this emergency. Now, here's the thing. I totally understand an emergency, and I understand that you have a child, but I think this is the reason why people don't like dating people with kids, because you never know. Well, how can I say this? It's hard to say I'm important too and I deserve common courtesy. And then at the same time, your child is, so people, when people say my child is my priority, they mean it, right? So here I was, a person who had driven almost an hour out to a date with this man because I was so excited to go on a date for my first time after the pandemic. I had paid the tab. I had shown up. He had already been questionable the entire time. And now I was just left with whether or not I wanted to move on from this and say, okay, he's just a devoted dad, or whether I wanted to take this as a sign that he would always kind of think of me last. And I did the latter and we never spoke again. And that was my very last date. So for me, they can never make me hate you, dating apps. They can never make me hate you. Let me be a little bit more specific. The reason why they can never make me hate dating apps is because I'm the type of person that dating apps were created for. First of all, I'm not a person who enjoys being outside. When I get outside, sometimes I am unruly. Sometimes I am moody. Sometimes I just don't feel like putting in all of the effort that I would need to put in to be someone that is drawing a certain amount of attention. And I've spent a lot of time in my adult life experiencing different demographics. And sometimes within that demographic, I'm not what they are looking for. So what a dating app does is it connects me virtually in like a third space with people who are actually looking for me. Even if that's not where I am geographically at the moment, even if that's not where I'm choosing to spend my time that evening, that month, that week, that whatever, it connects me with those people. And that might be people that I would have never crossed paths with otherwise. I remember I met a guy a couple years ago in LA and he was like, without this dating app, you and I would have never met. You would have never been where I go. I would have never been where you go. But because of this app, we've seen each other and we were able to make a connection. The other way dating apps are made for people like me is I don't live a very sexy life. Yes, I have had some spicy little hookups and some chaotic, there's definitely been sexy things that have happened. But let me, instead of sexy, let me say, I don't live a very romantic life. So by that, I mean, you will never hear me say, or at least now I don't have a story of, oh my gosh, I was in a Target and someone came up to me and they approached me and we have a date this Saturday. That has never happened. I've never been approached in a Target, in a coffee shop, at the movies, at a farmer's market, I am not the kind of person with that story. And I know those people. I remember I used to be friends with somebody years ago, like 10 years ago. And she'd be like, oh, I have a date this weekend. I'm like, oh, really? Where'd you meet him? I was getting my car fixed at AutoZone and he came in and he asked me out. Oh, okay. Oh, I have a date this weekend. Oh, really? Where'd you meet him? I was at the grocery store and he came up to me and asked me out. Oh, okay. Oh, I have a date this weekend. Oh, where'd you meet him? I was coming out of the nail salon and he saw me and he came across and he asked me out at the doors of the nail salon. Now, this is a person. She was a person that was very magnetic. People were very attracted to her. And so she's not necessarily going to need a dating app because she's consistently getting offers. That's not me. And so because of that, a lot of times a dating app was great because I'm able to say, okay, well, here is a place where I do have people who are interested. Maybe it doesn't happen when I'm leaving the nail salon. Maybe it doesn't happen when I'm leaving the grocery store. But here I can log onto this dating app and see people who are hypothetically interested. Now I say hypothetically because if you've ever used an app, you know that, especially on Bumble. Oh my God. Bumble is like a fool's errand. I heard that they were changing it so that women didn't have to message first. And I think that that's actually a good idea because what Bumble did was it removed men's impetus to have to chase, to have to be the hunter, and it made women the hunter. And, you can be like, oh, well, I make the first move after we already matched. Men are putting absolutely no thought into who they're swiping on. So you're actually doing all the moves. You're swiping, then you're trying to hit people up to figure. It turned women in the name of being empowered. It made us desperate. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who have met their significant other on Bumble. I'm so excited for you. That's great. But there's also a lot of us out there with the same story of you swipe on people and you send messages and nobody responds. It's like applying for jobs at a certain point, right? People say they're interested. They say they're hiring. But when you tell them, hey, okay, I'm here too, they don't respond. But anyway, hypothetically speaking, when you get on the app, you have people who are interested. And I think that's one of the frustrating things about not living a romantic little life where everybody's attracted to you. You never have any options. Like, it's like, okay, I would love to start something, but where's he going to come from? How am I going to meet him? With a dating app, I always have a place where I could potentially meet him without leaving it up to chance, right? The other way dating apps are made for people like me is for those of us who are a little older, a little sleepier, not necessarily into going places and dealing with a lot of brouhaha, a lot of rigmarole, a lot of don't waste my time. That's kind of my attitude. Dating apps are helpful because we're able to hopefully get what we want with very, very low effort initially and potentially high reward. And when I say low effort, if I want to meet someone in person, I gotta put on makeup. I gotta put on the right outfit. I gotta find the right place to go. However, with a dating app, I can be at home. I can be at home on my phone with a glass of wine, watching a rerun of my comfort show and swiping and starting conversations. Also, I noticed that the youths have decided, because they're really the ones leading the revolution, the anti-dating app revolution. The youths have decided that they want to do other things. They want to do more social clubs. And some of these social clubs are physical activity clubs, such as running clubs. The youths have rebranded running as like something that they're doing for fun. When I was a child, and we would have to run the mile in class, there would be kids who could do it in 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. My mile time when I was a child was 17 minutes and 2 seconds. I hate to run. I hate it. And it wasn't because I couldn't do it. I just hate it. I hate it. I would be out there walking around, singing songs, picking flowers. I was the kid everybody had to wait on at the end. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then as I got older in life, I remember when I was still wanting to reproduce, I was like, God, send me a man who says things like, I'm just going to go on a quick run. I'll be right back. People who say, I'm just going to go on a quick run, our brains are made differently. Our bodies are definitely made differently. Anytime I'm out running, it's not going to be quick. I'm going to be suffering, and I'm going to be suffering slowly. But then you have those people who are just able to just bust out 2 miles. Where have you been? I've been running 2 miles. What's for breakfast? Like, they can just go and do it. I said, bring me that man, because I did not want my children to be the last people to cross the line when it came to running in PE. I also wanted somebody who had a lot of upper body strength, because when I was a kid, I couldn't climb the rope either. I just wanted someone who was a natural athlete, because I was like, I'm not having my child have to sit out, the ways I had to, until I found something I love to do. And then you're like, okay, I'll do it. But I wanted somebody who had that innate within them. So now they have these clubs. The young people are coming together. I would say people in their 20s, and they're saying that running clubs are the new dating apps. Like this guy jumped on TikTok the other day and he was like, I'm telling y'all, running clubs are the new dating apps.
I'm trying to tell y'all, man, the run clubs are taking over fast, like mad fast. It's almost equivalent to the Forex epidemic back in 2019 and 2020. Just like back in the day when people was meeting up for generational wealth, now we're chasing generational health. And if you're tired of online dating, just join a run club. Find somebody that wants to be fit just like you. You know what I'm saying? You already got something in common.
And I saw in the comment section, this woman was like, actually, this started off in 2020. The first round of running club babies are going to preschool. I said, wow, y'all been meeting up and running in front of each other and getting romantically involved? Couldn't be me. First of all, like I said, I'm slow. Secondly, I don't want to be there. My attitude would be bad. Thirdly, I sweat, and not in the sexy way. Not in like, there's tiny beads of sweat all over her heaving bosom. No. I sweat so bad that when I was in college and I'd be dancing at a party, they started calling me Sweatney Houston. Because remember, Whitney Houston used to sweat. My name is Stephanie Sweatney. You see? One time I went to a bar or club and somebody comes up to me and they tap me on the shoulder, and I thought they were going to be like, oh my God, girl, you are really getting it. Like, tell me all about your moves. Or they were maybe going to hit on me. And I was like, oh, what did I do? So I turned around and it was this girl and she was like, hey. And I was like, hey girl, whatever. And she goes, I just wanted to tell you, you are sweating like a mother. I sweat. I am not about to be out running slow with a bad attitude and sweating and then sit up there and wonder, well, I didn't get no man today. Ugh. I could never. Running club is definitely, it's discrimination is what it is. I feel the same way about when people say, I'm looking for a gym partner. I want a swole mate. I used to see that on dating apps and I was like, oh, swipe left. We're not working out together. You're not seeing me do anything. Now, I do like going to workout classes, but the goal is not to be romantic there. And the lights are low. There's music loud. Like we ain't no connections happening in there. But otherwise, working out in the sun, in the heat, in front of other people is not my idea of a sexy time. So dating apps are for people like me who are not excited about the new ways and ways to meet people. I also don't like the concept of I'm going to go to this place and I'm looking for a romantic partner there, even though that vibe might not meet me. Do you see what I'm saying? So, for example, you show up to these running clubs, right? You show up to whatever these outdoor activities are. There's hiking clubs, there's running clubs, there's whatever. You show up, and in your mind, you're like, okay, I put the apps away, so we'll see what happens today. I'm very hopeful. You get out there, and absolutely nobody is thinking of you that way. Nobody is feeling you. Nobody is attracted to you. Nobody wants that from you. One of the things that used to get me or gets me about the concept of meeting people in person is whenever we show up anywhere, we're bringing our own tiny little universes with us. We're all in different places emotionally, mentally. We have different ideas and feelings about what is attractive. We have different ideas and feelings about what we might be looking for at a specific time. And so when you show up somewhere, the fact that you and another person might be in the same headspace about each other at the same time, like that's a miracle. But I don't know how many places I've gone to and I've had to check my expectations. Like, oh, they're not feeling it here. This is not, no. This is not a romantic place for me. So one of the things I don't like about doing things in person or showing up to one of these activity clubs is you don't want to bring the wrong energy to somebody and possibly get embarrassed or feel like you've overdone it. This person might just be here to run and just make friends. That might just be what they want to do. And here you come with your desires and your needs and whatever else. And that just may not be what they want. And so dating apps, again, hypothetically, the good thing about them is when you are on there, you both know what you're there for. But now I say hypothetically because they could be there just to hook up and you're looking for a relationship, but you can quickly weed that out and just move on to the next person. Whereas in person, you are taking a big risk that somebody will be there for the same reasons you are. You done already got up, put your clothes on, went out here, sweated in front of these people, and now you're trying to figure out, okay, is anybody interested? It's a lot. I'm good. The last reason dating apps are good for somebody like me, or they're meant for someone like me, is when you don't have a lot of organic experience, dating apps can take some of the pressure off. Now, I know I said when they first started out, I was like, okay, I'm nervous about talking to these men and I'm nervous about having these conversations. But as time went on, it was just like, hey, just say this. Hey, just do this. And you figure it out. And you have more than one opportunity to figure out how to use them, to figure out how to conversate, and to eventually create the connections that result in real life meetings. When I'm just doing things in real life, I might blow it with somebody because I'm like, ooh, I'm not on my game today, or I don't know what to say, or the situation felt like it was a lot of pressure. And now I got to wait for another person to come around for me to have another chance. So dating apps gave me a place to learn about myself as a communicator and to learn what I liked, what I could get away with, what I didn't like, in a way that it was like a testing zone. There were lots and lots of modules where I could go and learn. And then like the real world date was the test. Like, is this what you wanted? Without dating apps, I would have had nothing. And see, and I'm living proof of that now. The last time I went on a date, it was with a dating app. It was in 2019 when I put them away and said, we'll just see what happens naturally. Here we are, 2024. And you've been on a date in 5 years.
So obviously by this point in the video, we have come to the conclusion that I have been on one date in the fall of 2021. It was not a great experience, but it was my last actual date. Like, we made it to the restaurant. We were sitting at a table together. Even though he ran out in the middle of the date, it was something that did happen. No other meeting that I've had with anybody over the last few years has gotten to that point. And a lot of that is because where I would meet people in what mental state or physical state I'd be in. So Sunday fun day, woo, I'm having a good time. We meet and the energy is not necessarily like a let's go on a date energy. It's also because I didn't really have, like I said before, when I was younger, I didn't know where to meet people outside of certain environments. The same thing was true of my life the last 3 or 4 years. I didn't really know where else to go, where I might meet someone who would be interested. And this was a problem that dating apps solved for me. So I did meet other people. I definitely had other kinds of meetings. But actually meeting someone where the idea is, let's go on a date together. It's been since the fall of 2021. And really, since I've been on a successful date, it has been since 2019. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that.
If you do find yourself in the group of people that hate dating apps, that want to take a break, that want to put them to the side forever, that are tired of it, that want to whatever, I totally get it. I have been in that place before. And all I can say is there is no guarantee. Wherever you are hoping to meet your person, when you're hoping to meet them, they can come to you a million different ways. What dating apps give me specifically is a concrete way of knowing where I could possibly find it. If I go out in the real world, there's no guarantee. I've never found that place. I've never found that mythical place where I can go and I know I'm absolutely going to meet someone here who's going to want to go on a date. I've never found that. So if you have that in your life, yeah, absolutely. Throw the apps away, focus on real life, focus on what you have going on. Perfect.
I think we should also consider that how you feel about dating app use, number one, depends on your experience and also depends on your age. So a lot of the pushback towards dating apps is coming from younger generations who are the first generation of people to never have been without them. At a later point in this video, I'm going to say that something that kept dating apps alive for so long was the novelty of them. It was exciting when Tinder first came out. Bumble was, a novel idea. Okay, we've been dealing with Tinder for years. Now women can make the first move. Maybe that'll take care of some of the problems of Tinder. And then with all of those problems solved came different barriers and obstacles. But I think millennials were more inclined to continue to try to climb over those barriers and obstacles, because dating apps really were a product for and by our generation. Whereas Gen Z, who is pushing against using these dating apps, they're like, okay, been there, done that. We see what it did for you guys. We see how burnt out you are. We see what hookup culture became. We don't want to do that. We want to do something else. And they are doing different things. This article from Time Magazine, for example, lays out all the different things that they're doing. I also want to say that Gen Z is, especially the women, are really militant about decentering men. That's one of the reasons the Bumble campaign failed so badly, is because Gen Z is really stepping into, especially the young women, being as self-sufficient as possible and not letting chasing relationships or chasing sexual connections overwhelm them and guide their lives too much in the same way that it did millennials and generations that came before. So if you are part of that generation and you're watching this video, or if you share those values, that is perfect as well. I'm not there. That's not who I am. And so that's why I have the perspective I do. I'm 40 years old. I'm in the group of people who the dating apps were made for. I've come into my adulthood using them, and they have helped facilitate connections I wouldn't have had otherwise. However, if you've had better luck doing other things, if other systems have worked out better for you, then that's fine too. I think it's very important always to consider how somebody's experiences inform their perspective, and also how someone's age might inform their perspective. So I wanted to include this.
What I do wish would happen in the industry is I wish people would stop getting nickel and dimed for what they want. Like I know, for example, with Bumble, a couple years ago, it used to be like $8.99 for like a week of Bumble Boost, which, by the way, people who pay for dating apps get a really bad rap. I've paid for them before. And when I say paid for them, I've added on like extras. So I remember I did Tinder Gold back when I got to LA because I just wanted to see who already liked me before I spent hours swiping, and it made it easier to use the app. I wish that was just a built-in service. I wish you didn't have to pay for it. Now I would never pay for it because they've gone from being $19.99 a month to like $40 a month. And you are paying for something that you may not even really, you may not want to know who's actually interested in you, right? It may end up depressing you. But I don't appreciate like the price increase. Like there's no reason for that. And I'll also say though, in defense of paying for dating apps, people will say that, oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. It's so desperate. There's nothing desperate about wanting a partner. There's nothing desperate about wanting to reduce the amount of time that you have to deal with the ridiculousness of the dating app algorithms. There's nothing desperate about wanting to know like who's interested, about wanting to extend the time on matches. Like a lot of times when I have paid for an app, it's just given me more opportunities and more benefits to using it. I don't feel like those things should be so expensive. And I feel like it's kind of evil for the apps to like, for the app owners to know, hey, we could make this easier on them. Let's make it harder. I think that's kind of evil, which is why I don't pay for anything anymore. But I have in the past because it's made it easier, and why not?
Something else that I wish that dating app companies would focus more on privacy. One of the most popular types of content right now is people putting other people's dating app profiles up on the internet, specifically TikTok, and either encouraging their followers or whomever happens to come across the video to find the person that is in question, or they will use your profile as a way of mocking you publicly. And this is a reason why I stayed off the apps too. In 2021, I started getting recognized when I would go out in public. It doesn't happen anymore because it's been a long time since I've had a piece of viral content, which is a testament to not going viral. Everybody wants to go viral, but it can be not so great in your personal life. But I started getting recognized, and I felt like, do I belong on the apps that I would normally use, so like Bumble or Hinge or something? I felt like, no way was I going to be on Tinder. But at that point, I felt like I'd aged out of Tinder. So I was in my late 30s, and I just spiritually, I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. But I said, do I have to be on like a Raya or like I didn't know where I could be with what seemed to be happening in my life at that point. And regardless of that, I was afraid of someone taking my profile or someone going out on a date with me as a joke and using it as internet content. Because back then in those days, it was the Wild West for me here on social media. And it still is in some ways, but especially back in those days. So I wish that dating app companies took that kind of stuff more seriously. Like I know Raya will ban you if you share someone's profile information on the app. I wish that all dating app companies were like that. Bumble, Tinder, Hinge. No sharing people's profiles. No sharing the audio recordings. When people upload their audio recording, I feel so bad for older individuals that do this. They're already in their like 50s and 60s. So this is already technology that's alien to them. They're just trying to participate and maybe meet someone. And sometimes people will go in and they'll be like, I changed my age preferences to 50 plus. Oh my God, look at these profiles. And they're just mocking these older men for trying to answer these questions. And again, as somebody who would have literally never started going on dates regularly without dating apps, never. I feel so deeply for anybody who uses them for what they're supposed to be for, which is to facilitate connection for people who it's not always easy for. And not that it's not easy for you because something's wrong with you, but it's just not the rhythm of your life. Your life does not, those opportunities don't come up. So you're trying to use this to facilitate connection, and to be mocked on social media for it, or to have your privacy, like that's not cool. So that's something else I wish they would work on.
If you find that you're using the apps and you're feeling underwhelmed and it's not working for you, log off for a while. All of them have like a snooze and pause, right? Nobody's demanding that you stay on this app forever. Take a break. Take a break and go out to some places. Hell, if you can run, join a run club. You won't see me there, but do that. Try something else, right? Try hanging out in different spaces. Try talking to different people. Try. And then if it doesn't work, there's nothing wrong with resetting up a profile. All of the allegations and things that have been brought against the apps this year should be looked at very carefully. And if I was on the design teams, the operating teams, the whatever, I would really consider what can we do for our customers so that we don't fade away forever. What can we do to retain them? There used to be a time where I would say the first 10 years of dating apps, so from about 2010 to 2020, there was a time where the novelty of them kept them alive. Now the novelty is not enough. As far as people like me go, I want you guys to figure it out. You dating app people out there, if any of you happen to see this video, I want you to figure it out, because it has been the only way that I can guarantee that I will even participate in the dating process, because just leaving it up to the time and whatever happens. I think a couple weeks ago, someone who was in my comment section asked me on a date. I would never, just FYI, I would never date anybody from the internet who knew me from this, because there's just so many different ways that could go wrong on my end. The number one thing is you know too much. You know way too much. That's not equal. It's not equal for me to show up and you already know all my business, but I don't know nothing about you. I don't think so. Outside of that, random, popcorn ask outs. I think that's happened maybe 3 times my whole life of being on the internet. And the man always lives in like Wisconsin or some crazy place. Not that Wisconsin is crazy, but it's definitely not where I am. Outside of that, like leaving things up to the real world and what happens, and we'll see. That has not worked for me at all. The only thing that's worked in my life, if I want to get my dating life going, has been sitting down, spending about 30 minutes to an hour, picking my best pictures, writing a bio, signing up for an app, and seeing what happens. And I really, really, really don't want to lose out on that. And so I need you dating app people. I need them to get it together. So how about you? Have you used dating apps this year? Are you pissed like the people who are filing lawsuits and who are angry with them and just think the industry sucks? Did you happen to find your person on a dating app and so you're like, oh no, it worked for me? Please feel free to share your experiences in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.
Okay, a couple years ago, I got so much shit in the comment section for doing what I'm about to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. So it's very millennial of me to, after defending dating apps for almost an hour, to introduce an idea that I have for one that would solve problems I ran into when I was dating on dating apps in my 30s. And that was the problem of meeting people who weren't taking my time seriously. And by my time, I mean like my biological time clock. There's nothing more frustrating than being 35 years old and meeting a man who's also 35 years old. And he's like, we've got time. I just want to chill. I just want to be casual. No, bro, I actually don't have that time. I don't want to chill. I don't want to be casual. Or you're an older person, you're older, and someone comes into your life that's a little bit younger, and they're like, oh, it's fine. I don't mind that you're older. But that's because they want to play games and they want to use you as like a fun little experiment until they find who they really want or whatever. I don't know. But I had a friend who, when she was 40, met a guy, and he just immediately came in and did everything he needed to do to get her where she needed to be in life. Meaning she was 40 years old. She still wanted a baby, but she hadn't met anybody to do that with. This guy comes in, and the way I can best describe it is he came in like a clutch player. You know, that person they send in at the end of a game to like seal the victory. Like, he came in, he was like, I understand, I see your vision, and I'm going to help us both get there because I want to accomplish those goals with you too. And within 2 years of her meeting this man, she had her child that she had waited on her whole life. So it would not be that simple for me, but it would be nice to meet someone or to help facilitate, to put something out in the world, to have a place where people who are looking to accomplish those goals, maybe after the window of time where everybody else has, but they still have a little bit more time to make that happen. It would be great if there was space to do that. So I introduced to you my idea for a dating app. It would be called Clutch, and it would be specifically for people who are looking to get those bigger things on their list crossed off in a reasonable amount of time. So the way this app would work in my mind is people would be screened. You'd be interviewed by an intake team. I'm serious. I'm serious about it, man. There would be no like, oh, I can just sign up for free. No, it would operate kind of like The League or like Raya, where you have to go on people really knowing who you are and vetting you before you get onto the app. And the whole goal would just be so that when you're in these parts of your life where you're really looking to settle down with a partner, you're not still drowning in the sea of, I just want to be casual, I'm not taking it seriously, blah, blah, blah. That was like the biggest issue that I had with the apps. And if you're wanting to settle down with someone, you're the kind of person that should be settling down, because there's a lot of people who hang out on dating apps and it's like, you should actually be in prison. You should not be here. I don't think the era of dating apps is all the way over. I just think they need to get better. And I think having things like this would make them better. Okay, now I'm finished. Tell me how you feel in the comments below, and thank you for watching.